Have you ever realized that when you have a conversation with your partner, it's as if they're not even listening, or like they can't even regurgitate what you said because they're too busy just focused on responding? Well, if that is you, you clicked on the right video, because today we're going to be discussing the 3 things that can help you with effective communication to get through to your partner. Hello you guys, my name is Aja and welcome back to my channel. You clicked on this video because you are ready to transform your relationship through effective communication. Okay, so let's dive in. So first, let's define communication. Communication is the process of sharing information. So now let's talk about why communication is so critical in relationships. Effective communication is the foundation to every healthy relationship, no matter what. It could be platonic, friend, sister, cousin, whatever. Communication needs to exist in that relationship, right? It's our way of how we express ourselves, how we share our feelings, how we resolve conflicts. So without it, it's the complete disaster. Misunderstandings just fester. Resentment builds, connections are weakened, and the devil is busy, okay? When there's no communication. Imagine waking up every day and you just laying next to a person that doesn't even listen to you. You just get so upset and you just want to, man. I don't know how some people do it, but for me, I had to learn with trial and error, right? So I understand now that the power of communication truly changes lives. And it has changed mine and my relationship. And now, I feel like I have a really healthy marriage because of the fact that we know how to communicate with each other. Now it's time to get into those skills. So I have my handy dandy whiteboard that we're going to use to, for one, stay on track and to reference everything that we've talked about. So we are going to be discussing communication. And the first thing is active listening. This one is number 1 for a reason, because it's pretty much the most important thing, and it's the key that unlocks the rest of it. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. Up first, we have active listening. All right, active listening. You actively listen. All right, say it with me one more time. Active listening. So it means that when you are fully focusing on your partner when you speak, instead of thinking what you're going to say, try to really hear their words. And sometimes this is very difficult. This is a difficult thing to do because as a human, the first thing I want to do is respond, right? That's the first thing when you're a kid and you're learning to speak. That's the first thing they teach you to do is to respond, right? So we have to unlearn that behavior, right? And we have to actually hear their words and process their words before we respond, right? For example, you might say, it sounds like you're feeling overwhelmed at work. Is that right? This simple practice, right, is something that you can do and you can just fill in the blank. Like when somebody is venting about something, and then when you say that, it lets them know that, hey, that person was listening. That person knows exactly like how I'm feeling. So actually, yeah, and I want to elaborate on that. And just hearing somebody like acknowledge what you said and understand your feelings, that's a whole nother happiness. That's a whole nother happiness. Okay, so active listening, that's exactly what that is. Active listening means that you're completely focused on what your partner or anyone else is saying to you right in that moment. All right. Next, we have using I statements. So you may be wondering, what does that mean, an I statement, right? So instead of saying like, you never listen to me, you don't do this, you do that, whatever, right? you would try to frame whatever you're trying to say and say, you know what, I felt unheard when I said this, right? I think that you might be distracted during our conversations because you know that they're not listening, right? So just simply tweaking what you're saying, right, makes a huge difference. So this takes us to our third point, which is nonverbal communication. So this is exactly what it sounds like. All of the nonverbal cues that you could possibly have, which is smiling, just being touchy, just, really feeling your partner and letting them know, that you are, attracted to them, and that, it makes people want to communicate with you better. So here are some more in-depth details of nonverbal communication. My husband, he's gonna kill me when he sees this video, but what I do, and I know it might be a little bit annoying for him, I kind of tell him to say what I said, not in say what I said, not like that, but just baby, are you hearing me? What, tell me what you think. I try to phrase it in that, and if you just kind of soft and kind of kind and stuff, they don't mind being oh yeah, well, blah blah blah. And if they repeat something that you didn't say or that's not what you meant, then that's when you can clarify it. So everything you do is literally about the way you present it, whether somebody's going to receive it or not, right? So be mindful at how you present yourself during conversations. If you are upset, you have an attitude, you had a bad day, that's probably not how you want to start conversations. You need to make sure that you are over whatever situation is going on so that you can have a clear mind when you're communicating, right? You can do things by smiling or, gentle touching. Sometimes I'll give my husband a little massage and he kind of knows okay, we're getting ready to talk, right? So sometimes you don't realize how important gestures are in communication. I want you to take a moment and think about a recent conversation that you had with your partner, right? Just think, how did you communicate? How did it make you both feel? What was taken away from that conversation? All conversations are not always going to be perfect. What matters most is that you guys are willing to talk, communicate, get it out, and grow together, right? So I am at Starbucks. You probably can't tell that by my background, but this is where my husband and I go to have, those in-depth conversations where we can communicate effectively with each other, with no distractions, no kids, no nothing. Not me being distracted by chores that need to be done, or him being distracted by the kids and whatnot. And I mean, it's a really good place. So if I have one tip to give you, if you don't take anything from this video, take the fact that you have to schedule time to spend one-on-one time with your partner somewhere outside of you guys' home. And what this does is it just makes you be more accountable for the conversation, because it's just y'all, and you don't want others to be all in y'all mix and stuff. So it's gonna be quiet, not no yelling, nothing. And you can have your little notes and stuff and just kind of cruise together. And that has helped us significantly be able to communicate with each other and get our points across without getting upset. So yes. Communication is a journey, and I don't know if it's a little bit cliche or not, but it truly is. When I was younger, I did not like to communicate at all. I would actually prefer not to. But throughout my years and just maturing and things, I just realized that communication takes you a long, long ways. The lack of communication just does nothing but cause turmoil every single time. Something that I say to my husband also is when something happens and we're not on the same page and we didn't communicate with each other, I literally stop and say, okay, baby, this is a learning point for us. This this means that we didn't communicate effectively. And had we, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. And then, he'd be like, yeah, I could have did this differently. And then if it was me, then I say, you know what, I should have said this. And then we know next time. So it's very intentional communication. You have to really want to do it, and you really have to understand the consequences of not doing it, because some people really don't care. Okay, so now I want to share like a personal story about my communication journey. So my husband and I, we were not good communicators at all. Like, it was so bad. And like, the thing is that when we met, we have such a cute little story. We have a cute little love story, right? But when you meet somebody, like, it's communication is not even a thing. Like, nobody even cares, right? You're just like loving on each other and just, in the moment. And then you don't start thinking about all of this like big important stuff until like later on down the road. So we all in love. We out to eat. We at the beach. We at, just everywhere out to eat, just doing our thing. And we never once stopped to say, okay, like, how do you communicate? Like, we didn't even ask each other that. And then we always joke with each other because I said, I gave him this list of questions. And it was pretty like far into our relationship. So and how does he communicate during like hard times, dealing with like finances and stuff? That was one of the questions that was on there. And that's kind of what sparked the communication piece. So, after we had been together year 1, year 2, year 3, we were like, wait, why are we always bumping heads about the same type of stuff? Like, you're not getting to me, I'm not getting to you. Like, what is going on? Like, what is the problem? And then I'm like, okay, we need a counselor. So let's try to get a counselor. He's like, yeah, no, I don't want a counselor. I want to learn how to communicate. And I'm like, you do? You do? Okay, so what do we do? So we, at that point, we just kind of made a promise to each other to be like more intentional, right? So I didn't even realize at that point that we were communicating, even though it wasn't really what I wanted to communicate about, but just us coming up with a plan to be more intentional with each other about that kind of stuff. That was the first step to this communication journey that we were on. So fast forward, we were split up. He went to Korea, I stayed in Virginia, and we had to have a long distance relationship. And communication saved our relationship, saved our marriage, because had we not learned how to communicate, he would have been signing them divorce papers on his way back to the States from Korea, because like, it was just crazy. Like, I had all the kids, he was there, and oh God. So what we did every day, we made a time that was convenient for both of us, and we sat down for 1 hour on FaceTime, and we just threw up everything we did, any issues, any good things, anything going on with the kids, anything going on with his unit, and we literally just talked back and forth. And that was the second step to our little journey of communication. So when he returned back home, it was kind of hard because, we weren't really used to talking to each other in person anymore. It's kind of weird how it happens like that sometimes with the military. But the foundation was still there. So we went to Starbucks. We both had our notebooks, and we both sat down and said, okay, what do we need to talk about? What do we need to change? If anything, what's going good, what's going bad? And it was like, I don't know, the same way like a working group or something. If you have a business or something, it was like that. It was very intentional. And at this point, this is how I knew like that this was going to work out. Like, that I had truly met my person. And this communication happened like before we got married. So once we got married, things just got better and better and better. And now, I can say, all right, here we are now. I think we need to go to Starbucks. And then we'll go because there's one right close to us. And that's just kind of like what my advice to you is to just make sure that when you are, trying to have a conversation with your partner, that, you are in a good space, head space, physical space, like everything, because you never know. The way you spit something out is 100% never the way that somebody receives it. And I realized that the hard way, so you have to make sure that you're very intentional with your partner. The same way that you communicate with somebody else, your friends, family, or whatever, is not the same way that you would communicate with your partner, your spouse, your person, whatever you want to call them. So in current times, we had 2 babies, so now we have 7 kids all together. So you can imagine our life is like pretty busy. So communication is something that we have to teach to everybody in the house, because we have to know what's going on. It's too many people, too many moving pieces for there to be some type of slip up. So we have Slack. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Slack, but Slack is amazing because, for one, I work in a secure building, so I can't have my phone, I can't have anything in there, but I do have access to Slack. So if the kids need to communicate with me, if my husband needs to reach out, they just hit me up on Slack, and then I can immediately deal with whatever the issue is, or just be in the know of what's going on. And there's nothing more important than knowing that the kids are good, everybody's good while I'm at work. So Slack has helped communication. So I know it's other apps out there, that you could use. There's some stuff you can pay for too. It's like Life 360 and Ohana, I believe it is. But I've never used those ones. I've used Slack just because I use Slack for work, so it's just convenient. And I just add another workspace, which is, I titled it My Family, and I have everybody linked to it. And that is how we communicate outside of the household. All right, you guys, I was so happy to share that with you guys, because I do realize that communication is not an easy thing to understand. It's not an easy thing to do. Like, it's easier, to be honest, it's easier to not communicate, right? And we do not want that. We want positive relationships. We want relationships that we love to be in, that we just can't wait to get home because I just want to love on you because you just hear me, right? That's what we want, and that is the goal. And that is the goal of this video, is to teach you the 3 things that we have done that have been proven to us, that have been proven to be successful for us. Thanks for watching. Remember, when you see this on YouTube, it means that you are ready to transform that relationship through communication. Until next time, let's keep this conversation going in the comments. Let me know how do you communicate with your partner. If you have any tips and tricks for anybody that has worked for you over the years, let us know. Until next time, have a good day. Bye-bye.